Hello again, my name's Salinda, and I can't stop playing with dolls. You may have noticed the Monster High ghouls sitting in the background of my videos. And although I was a little old to be playing with dolls when they came out, I've always loved their unique designs and styling. But when they came out in 2010, I was 20 years old, in university, and felt a little bit self-conscious about the idea of purchasing dolls. But that didn't stop me from staring at them in the toy aisle every time I went to Target or Walmart or anywhere that sold Monster High dolls. But as I spent more time on Tumblr, I noticed that the ball jointed doll community took notice of the brand and started using their bases to make custom dolls in the ball jointed doll style. And this totally sold me on it. I had to get some dolls of my own. But I was still a college student, so I didn't exactly have the budget to be buying a bunch of dolls. But now I'm an adult, and if I want dolls, gosh darn it, I'm gonna buy them. And if I want to customize one, I'm gonna do that too. So today I thought I would do a crafting video and customize my own Monster High Clawdeen doll and finally live out the desire of mine that has been bubbling away under the surface since 2010. Let's get started. So why did I pick this doll? She was just the right ghoul at the right time. I found her for sale for £5 on Vinted. And her face was already mostly off. So I thought that was the perfect opportunity to make a custom doll and not feel too guilty about taking her face off. As you can see, she's in fairly rough shape. Her face is gone, her hair is a mess, and her limbs are extremely loose. So I'm gonna have to do something about that a bit later. Even still, I think she's a great base to work from and will let me really go crazy with customizing. Based on her hair, I think she is the Power Ghouls Clawdeen Wolf doll, which is super cute. I totally fell in love with these bright green streaks in her hair, and I really use that as inspiration for the whole doll design. It's giving me major cyberpunk vibes, so I want to do a futuristic cyborg style ghoul that looks like she could fit into the world of the cyberpunk game, Blade Runner, or Fifth Element. I start by removing the rest of her face makeup using 100% acetone, and this was so satisfying to do, leaving a blank slate for my design. I then spray 2 layers of Mr. Super Clear matte spray, so it gives me a surface to start sketching out the face. When designing her face, I didn't really have an exact idea of what I wanted to do beforehand, but I searched cyberpunk makeup looks on Pinterest, had that up while I was sketching, and took some elements from each to come up with a design I was happy with on the spot. I then started roughly color blocking her design with watercolor pencils, and this is definitely a trust the process kind of activity. She is definitely looking a bit crusty here. I was also having a massively hard time filming the work I was doing because I didn't at this point have an overhead phone mount, but I do get one, so stay put for better footage. And I got so frustrated that I finished the initial color blocking off camera. I then do another layer of Mr. Super Clear to lock in that base, and so I can continue to build up layers. Of course, when you're doing this, you are doing a lot of spraying of some not so nice chemicals, so rest assured I do have my respirator mask on for all of the spraying. I then stand her up so her layer can dry, and so she can greet the mailman when he comes. While I'm already outside doing some spraying, I also prep some accessories that I have on hand. I have some shoes and a wrist cuff from a basic Frankenstein doll that I'm going to repaint for the school. I spray those with a white primer and let those dry as well. And then it's time for layers on layers on layers of making up her face. I continue sketching out and deepening the color of the lines, spraying Mr. Super Clear between each layer once sort of peak saturation has been reached. This will allow you to gradually build up the saturation while still maintaining a dreamy artistic look. And this requires a lot of patience as you have to wait for the layer to dry before you start building upon the next one. I found I would do a layer of colored pencils and then a layer of acrylic paint, deepening the whites of the eyes or the black of the eyelashes, and then a layer of chalk pastels to try to give a glow effect of her cyborg lines, and just sort of fiddle around until it's just right. I found this process really forgiving, as if you mess up in a few more layers, that part might be barely visible. But this was such a fun and calming process process. It was such a fun process that it was hard to know when to stop. I especially loved building up the saturation with the chalk pastels, giving her eyeshadow and blush, that I could have done it forever. In fact, I do want to make more of these dolls, and I have created the account Salindoll on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok if you want to follow along with my future doll journeys and see what other transformations I complete. Once I felt the face was in a pretty good place, and to stop me from overworking it, as I am definitely wont to do, I gave it 2 or 3 layers of Mr. Super Clear to lock in her face design. I think she is looking so cool so far. I definitely feel like this face design was a little bit ambitious for a first go at it. I'm trying to do straight lines on a curved surface, dealing with symmetricalness and glow effects, but I think it came out pretty good. I'm pretty pleased so far as a first try, but I'm really excited to see the rest of the ghoul come together because I've just been staring at this face for hours and hours and hours, and I almost feel like I've lost track of the bigger picture. Time to get started on her clothes. Eventually, I would like to start drafting and making my own dolls clothes for future custom dolls, but to not overwhelm myself on a first go at it, I am going to customize some existing clothes. To get a more modern cyberpunk look, I sourced some LOL OMG Big Sister doll clothes on eBay. I like the black and white on the clothes, but this red is a different vibe to what I'm going for. I wanted to go for a purple and green color scheme, matching the green streaks that are already in her hair. To achieve this, I mixed the colors I wanted with acrylic paint and then added equal parts fabric softener to make a flexible fabric paint. Big shout out to the very long-standing doll community on the internet where I found this trick. This was another trust the process kind of activity. You definitely need to build up layers to get the opacity that you want. And I was worried after the first couple of layers that it would not be strong enough to color this very bright red. But after enough layers, it actually was so effective. Those doll people on the internet really know what they're talking about. After doing the stripe down her side, I then moved on to the jacket. Before starting painting, I did sew down the zip detail inside the jacket to give it a bit of a smoother and neater fit. Without doing this, I found the zipper detail really stuck out and drew focus to just the zipper and not really to the design as a whole. And this was very effective. I then went in to paint the same green color over the red parts of the jacket. The cuffs were a little bit more successful than the main part of the jacket, where I started to get some crumbling after a few layers. Maybe I wasn't waiting for it to dry enough or didn't have enough fabric softener in that batch of paint, but I did my best to cover it and hoped that it wouldn't be that noticeable once it was worn. On the interior shirt, I painted the red parts purple for a contrasting look and to mimic the purple on her face. I then set those aside to dry and got started on the shoes and the cuff. I was able to totally zone out and basically just enjoy this 3D coloring book. It's okay if you're a bit messy at first because it is very easy to go in with other layers and correct any mistakes. Then it's time to do this ghoul's hair. I free Clawdeen from her fuzzy body bag, and as you can see, there is a line where the cling film overlapped her face. I don't think this will be noticeable once I style the hair and everything is set in place, but this is all a learning experience, so I'll definitely be more careful about my edges in the future. I've seen other people use a sock pinned to their hairline to make this a more exact edge, which I tried, but these pins would not go into her head. So if you are a doll customizer with experience, tell me what I did wrong or what kind of pins you used. I was using my normal sewing pins. It did not work for me. I'm also trying to tell myself that, she's a cyborg. This is her cybernetic face that was put on top of her regular face. It's a feature. not a bug. Now it is time to start prepping the hair for a boil wash, which I need to do to even see what I'm working with because this is a big old rat's nest currently. I brush it out as best I can to create a better base to work from, and I can feel a little bit of glue seepage, which I'll also need to take care of. Once that's brushed out, I add a bit of WD-40 to her hair to get out that excess glue. I've seen a lot of mixed conversation about the use of WD-40 on these dolls. Some people say it could degrade the vinyl plastic, but I've never actually seen a single post showing any of this damage. I feel like it's on for such a short amount of time, like 60 seconds or less, that it's not an issue. And for this doll I only spent £5 on. I'm happy to take that risk. If it was a super rare and valuable doll with this issue, I maybe would try something else. But for this ghoul, I think it's fine. I washed that out with dish soap about 3 times, slather her with conditioner, and let that sit. Then it's time to rinse it out, and I then, at this stage, part her hair around her ears where I more or less want it to sit. So then I can pour boiling water to lock that new parting in and give her hair a straighter and neater appearance. Obviously, be super careful if you try this at home and follow the tutorials of a more seasoned doll customizer than I. I then leave her to dry over the sink. And then we're really almost done, and it's time to do the finishing touches. I was going through one of my craft boxes and found this collection of chains, and I thought this would be the perfect thing to make a little chain belt and add a bit of detail to her clothes. This was so fiddly and annoying, but I thought the payoff was really strong, so I'm glad I went through the effort. I also used a couple of extra rings in that chain kit to put into the holes in her ears to make little earrings. One side was a little bit more successful than the other, and the other looks a bit chewed up because of it. But you know, life in the cyberpunk universe is hard. It's rough and tumble, so sometimes we don't make it out without a few little scratches and bumps. And then it's time to finish doing her hair. I'm loving the straight hair with a little bit of curl at the end that naturally occurred when I boil washed the hair, so I'm not doing too much extra work. I cut her bangs in a soft V style, almost in a Betty Page bangs kind of way. Does this hide all the forehead line work that I worked so hard on? Yes, but hey, I know it's there. And I think the bangs turned out really cute. I section off and braid some pieces to frame her face, and then it's time to put it all together. Let's see how my cybernetic ghoul turned out. I think she turned out so cool. She really came together in the end, and I just can't stop staring at her. It feels like I got a new doll. And looking back at the clips of from when I first unboxed her, I can hardly believe she is the same ghoul. I certainly learned a ton that I will take on going forward, but I just had such a great time doing this art project. And I just can't believe that I've waited so long to customize a doll like this. I just had a great time and will definitely be doing this again in the future. As I said before, if you want to follow along on that journey, I'll be uploading stuff to the YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok Salindoll. And I've already been thinking about what I'm going to do next. To level up my game in the future, I definitely want to try rerouting a doll's hair and designing my own clothes and making a truly one-of-a-kind custom ghoul. I would love to know what you think of my ghoul. Have you ever customized your own doll before? Did you ever play with Monster High back in the day? Or are you a later in life collector like I am? Or do you just like watching crafting vids? Seeing a project come together is so interesting for me, so I hope even if this isn't your normal cup of tea, you enjoyed coming along for the ride today. Thank you so much for watching if you made it this far. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate if you could like it. And if you want to see more from me, please subscribe. I upload new videos on Fridays. I hope you have a great day wherever you are, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye!